Hi and welcome to the video. Today I'll be showing you how to create a swatch of a stitch called Waffle stitch, which as you can see has a lovely texture. It's not technically a reversible stitch, but the back is quite pretty as well. So let's get started. So I'll be using a super chunky weight yarn, scissors, 10mm needles and a tapestry needle. For a flat swatch, you'll want to cast on multiples of 3 plus 1. So I'm using 12 plus 1, so 13. This swatch will be using a 4-row repeat. Row 1 is knit, row 2 is purl, row 3 starts with 1 knit stitch. Then it's a case of repeating purl 2, knit 1, purl 2, knit 1 for the entire row. Row 4 is a repeat of purl 1, knit 2, purl 1, knit 2, and the last stitch will be a purl stitch. You then repeat the 4 rows. So let's get started. If you want to know how to knit stitch, how to cast on, I have lots of other videos on my YouTube channel, so we won't go into that level of detail in this video. But for the case of this, we're just going to knit that first row until we get to the end. And here's that 4-row repeat again. So the next row is going to be a full purl row. So let's get that done here. Again, there's videos on how to purl on my YouTube channel, so check those out. Like and subscribe if you fancy it. And just keep purling all the way until the end of that row, then we'll move on to the next part of the sequence. So row 3, we start with 1 knit stitch, then it's a repeat of purl 2, knit 1. So here's that first knit stitch, then 2 purl stitches, followed by 1 knit stitch, and repeat for the entire row. And now row 4, so that is a repeat of purl 1, knit 2, and then the last stitch will be a purl stitch. So here we are going in with our purl stitch, and then followed by 2 knit stitches. Repeat this until the last stitch on the row, and that last stitch will be a purl stitch. So we've got to the end of that row, that one last purl stitch. That's your first 4-row repeat complete. You'll start to be able to see some of the texture developing now, but it won't really show until you get about 2 to 3 repeats into your knitting. So just keep going and you'll start to see that lovely texture developing. So this is me just finishing off the second 4-row repeat, and this is what it will start to look like. You can really start to see the waffly texture developing. Oh, I just love this stitch so much, it's just gorgeous. So now we're going to go and move on to how to create waffle stitch when working in the round. So it's a slightly different 4-round repeat. When working in a round, you won't need the extra stitch, so you'll need to cast on in multiples of 3. The first 2 rounds are all knit stitch. The third round is purl 2, knit 1, repeat for the entire round. And this is the same for the last round. And you can see here, even though it's a slightly different 4-row repeat, you still get that lovely waffly texture. Here's a quick tutorial on how to seam waffle stitch. So you've got these lovely strips of texture. You want to be able to line those up really neatly. So take your yarn and tapestry needle and pop in 1 stitch on the edge of your knitting. you'll be able to see that there's two V shapes in between each of those vertical bars. You want to try and line them up. Use the main vertical bars that stand out as your markers. Keep an eye on them and make sure that you're sewing through the right stitches. So we're going to use a mattress stitch here, and you want to just be picking up underneath the two bars of each V. So you can see that's the main V and then that's the one next to it. So just again, use those main vertical bars as your marker and always refer back to them to make sure you're on track. So I've managed to seam a couple of stitches in now, so you can start to see it's all really lining up nicely. Give your yarn a little tug just to make sure that everything's secure. Look how nice and straight that is. Keep going and I'll see you at the end. Okay, so we've seamed all the way along, and now I'm just putting in a couple of holding stitches before I weave in my ends on the back. So because you've got quite a thick seam on the back, you can just weave that yarn right through the middle and that will keep it secure. Here you can see the finished piece all seamed together. I hope you've enjoyed this video and I'd love to see your waffle stitch knits. So feel free to tag me on Instagram, TikTok, wherever you hang out. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. For beginner knit kits, super chunky yarn and more videos like this, check out my website, thatcraftystitch.co.uk and use code YouTube10 for 10% off all digital knitting patterns. See you next time.